Welcome back to Miss Holcomb's class. We are starting Unit 3, which is
transformations.
And
The bellman interrupted us now, but we'll always finish our work now.
yeah, let's restart that. I kind of lost my.
No, I'm just gonna leave it. All right.
Go Ohio State.
Okay. Looking at this paper, we have some basics to talk about before we get into transformations. Some stuff that you should remember. Everything on this paper. Let me get this paper out. It's the one with the graphs at the bottom. Everything on this paper is something you've already learned at some point. Granted, the acronym that I'm about to tell you might be slightly different. First, let's refresh. Is the point -2, 3 a solution to the equation x minus y equals -1? Do you remember what to do to check if a point is a solution?
Plug it in.
And
Solve.
look for the left to equal the right. Okay, everyone right now, please plug that in and verify if it is a solution. Put it on paper. I want it on paper.
How do we do it on paper?
Well, what does a coordinate point represent? What letters?
X1.
Okay,
So you just plug it in.
yes.
No.
All right, so if we go to plug it in, x is -2, y is 3. Bring the right side down. What is -2 minus 3?
-5.
And does -5 equal -1?
No.
No. So no, it's not a solution. Okay, look at the next question. Make a table of ordered pairs for y equals x plus 3 by finding the y values if the domain is the set -1, 0, 1, 2. There's a lot going on here. You already know how to do this. Let me refresh you because I realize you've slept since you did it last. This is an equation of a line, right? And they want a table of ordered pairs. That is a T-chart. Y'all remember the T-charts from when you're graphing? Normally your T-chart runs vertical. We don't have room, so we're going to make ours run horizontal. Your T-chart is where you pick numbers for x and plug it in, and you get a number that comes out for y. They're telling you, do you remember what the vocab word domain means? Do you remember what domain means in terms of a graph? Okay, what is that is an answer to specific graphs. All real numbers would mean that if I had a graph and I could plug any given number in, the domain would be all real numbers. Domain means look at the x values. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
They're saying what x values are allowed to be plugged in. It is giving us the x values that it wants us to use. So we're going to copy them to our T-chart. If you look at it, we have 4 x values that we're going to plug in. What's the first one? What's the first x value from the set of domain? -1. What's the next x value?
0.
You're filling in your T-chart based on the x values that they just told you. Now, how do we get the y values?
You use the y equals x plus 3.
Exactly. So do that now. Use the equation to get the y values. You have the x values, now find the y values by plugging it in. So if you plug -1 in for x, what comes out as the y value? 2. If you plug in 0, what do you get?
3.
Plug 1 in,
4.
and you plug 2 in. Next question is to refresh you on plotting points. Please plot these points right now. Does yours say -5?
-5, 1.
Yeah. Please plot those points on that graph over there to the right.
Yep, that works.
You don't need to draw them. You're not drawing lines. No, you're just plotting points.
Bill says draw the line.
Yeah, it does. It says
No,
draw.
that's, y'all just stay with me. Number 3, plot the points. I'm not getting rulers out because until we start translations, because I just need to see the plot where we are. All right, plotting these points. Refresh your memory on coordinate points. They are x and y values, correct? What direction does the x-axis run? Horizontal. The x-axis runs left to right. What direction does the y-axis run? Up and down. Okay, the x-coordinate is the first one, and it controls moving the same direction that the x-axis runs, which is left or right. The y-coordinate is the second number, and it controls moving up or down. If you ever forget that, or you get them crossed, look at the axes, label your axes, and that's the direction you run with those numbers. So -5, 1 should have been left 5, up 1, and 0, 3 would mean no right or left movement, go up 3. That's where those points should be. Yeah. What are you highlighting? Oh, just make it bigger. Number 4, draw a horizontal line. Number 5, draw a vertical line. Just a little sketch, nothing fancy, and it's right here. I want to see if you remember which direction horizontal runs and which direction vertical runs. Now, if you think you've got them switched, then wait for me to put it on the board, because obviously there's only 2 possible answers here. But I just wanted to see if you remember. Okay, you should be done. What direction does horizontal run?
Other side.
Left and right. The easiest way to remember this is the prefix horizon. If you've ever been out west, or up in the mountains, or out on a big old pasture on a field, or someone's farm,
Beach.
or the beach, great example, or the beach, or the lake even. The horizon is that, usually, gorgeous view way out in the distance where the earth meets the sky, right? And it's the line that runs horizontal. Hence the name horizon. Yeah? Okay, so if you ever forget which way horizon runs, if you ever forget which way horizontal runs, think of what the horizon line looks like, and it's left and right. Vertical is up and down. So your horizontal line should look like that, your vertical line should look like that. All right, slope. We have already talked about slope. I've given you 4 examples of slope here, there are 4 different scenarios. You have either a positive slope or a negative slope. With a negative slope, take your pencil, or if you have a colored pen or a colored marker or even a highlighter, and I would love for you to make a capital N out of, make a capital N out of that negative slope line. That's how you remind yourself if something has a negative slope. If you can turn it into a capital N, it has a negative slope. And if you can't, then it's not negative. Oh, wait, there's over here. Now, the other 2 types of slope are what we call special cases. Okay? That's when you have a 0 slope or an undefined slope. Let's refresh you on a couple of things. Slope is defined by what variable? Do you remember the notation? M. The variable is M. Be careful, if you ever have a slope that is a whole number, for instance, let's say you have a slope of 4, then, I don't know why, let's make this into an arrow, not a squiggly. You can write it over 1, and now you can see the slope is 4 over 1. Do you remember the phrase used with slope? Rise over run. When you're dealing with special case slopes, these 2 down here, 0 slope or an undefined slope, it is really tricky to distinguish the 2 of them. So there is an acronym that we are going to use a lot. If you will turn your paper over, there is an acronym that we are going to use to help us remember everything that goes with the 2 special case slopes, because they're easy to interchange and I don't want you to mix them up. If you will, take your highlighter and highlight Hoy Bucks. Now you have to be very careful when you say that. Does anyone else need a highlighter? You're going to highlight Hoy Bucks. Anyone else? Anyone? I got you. Catch. Woo! I did it short. I'm sorry. That was a bad throw. Okay. Hoy Bucks. Let me show you what it stands for. You're going to appreciate this at some point. Maybe not today, but I promise you will. Hoy stands for horizontal lines have a 0 slope, which means that M equals 0. Now we're writing a little different here. The equation, EQ, of a horizontal line is always written y equals the y-intercept. Every time. Y equals the y-intercept. My college math students were just taught Hoy Bucks. I say taught that because not every math teacher uses that acronym. So my college math students, I just showed them Hoy Bucks like 3 weeks ago because it gets used a lot. Okay, it's really helpful.
In college? Where?
For GNTC.
Oh, like the dorm room and stuff?
You're
Here.
a professor too.
I am. I'm an adjunct faculty
I'm
member.
gonna do that.
Dual enrollment?
Are you gonna be teaching it?
Yeah, I'm the only one qualified to teach it.
I may do it. I'll do it.
Just be ready to work.
Can I do it next year?
No, you have to take Algebra 2 first. Alright. If you look, here are some examples. When the slope is 0, please reference, y'all, this is here. This poster is here all the time. And a lot of people never look at it because they, I guess, don't know how to read it. But this is saying to you, it is okay for 0 to be in the top of a fraction. That's okay. It is a no-go when 0 is in the bottom of a fraction. That's when you get errors. In this case, poi means the slope is the number 0, which meant it is okay. Think of the poster. It is okay for a 0 to be in the top of the fraction. Now, here's some examples of it. Look at this T-chart right here. This is the equation. Y equals 4. The equation looks weird because there's no x. That's how you know it's a special line. Enter poi bucks. You say to yourself, what letter do you see? You see a Y, which means it's a horizontal line crossing the y-axis at the number 4. Here's the y-axis. Here's the number 4. Bam, there's the horizontal line. Notice the T-table. All of the y values are 4, and that's because it's a horizontal line at y equals 4. There is nowhere to plug an x in. That's why the x's all change. Coming down to bucks. Be careful. It stands for vertical lines have an undefined slope. I'm writing right here DNE. This means it does not exist. DNE, y'all remember that? And then over here, write EQ for the equation of any vertical line is always equal to x equals the x-intercept. Okay, now let's go right here. It is a no-go to have 0 in the bottom of a fraction. You will get an error in your calculator. If you look at the graph, here is the x-axis, here's the equation. There is no y coordinate, no y letter at all, which tells me it's bucks. So go to the x-axis, find -2, and drop a vertical. Here's the x-axis, there's -2, drop a vertical, and then it's graphed, okay? And you will notice all the x coordinates are -2. It hurts. Getting old.
It's arthritis.
Okay. All right.
Not that old.
Thank you, Joey. I appreciate it.
My grandma is
Check the time.
12:43.
Yep, we're good. All right, you can keep this. I'm about to sneeze.